is not what you know, it's what you can prove.
You know how to cut to the core of me, Baxter. You're so wise. But like a miniature Buddha covered in hair.
I want to become a guru so girls will like me. Then I will like myself.
Now, before we do this, let's go over the ground rules. Rule number 1. No touching of the hair or face.
Of course.
And that's it! Now let's do this!
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Golf Guru Show. I'm your host, Jason Sutton, and I'm the Guru. This is a special edition of the Golf Guru Show as I am collaborating with another fellow professional, good friend of mine, Matt Walter, who has a great podcast geared towards junior golfers called the Junior Golf Blueprint, which is a fantastic podcast that I listen to all the time. So go check out his show, go download, go subscribe. It was really fun to collaborate with him and his show as we stayed in the same condo at the PGA show in Orlando a couple weeks ago, and he's already posted the edited version of this podcast. And I'm going to let a few things go as I think some of it could be valuable as far as the content. So I will preface this by saying, earmuffs, as there is some cursing going on, and also preface this by saying that this was at the end of the week, long busy week with not a whole lot of sleep and a lot of speaking engagements. And me personally, I was just coming off a 3-hour wine dinner with a bunch of friends. Rob Holding, thank you very little. It was awesome. But so wee hours of the morning podcast, as I did one last year with the guys, which was a lot of fun. So Maddie was nice enough to sort of collaborate and bring you a few new guests. So let me give you the rundown. We got Matt Walter, obviously, and a great coach from Tennessee, and then Brooke Watts, a fantastic coach from Texas, and then Shelly Liddick, an NAIA women's golf coach, brings another perspective from the coaching side. My friend Jeff Smith from Indiana, number one teacher in Indiana, and then the legend Chris Trevino, former tour player, now coaches out of Reno, Nevada, and Trevino Golf Institute. He's been on my podcast 3 times already. I guess maybe 4 now, counting the show. James Hong, as we all know, top coach out of New Jersey and coaches a lot of juniors. So there's a lot of cool stories and some funny stories to go along with, some wine and some drinks and just, basically some banter from a bunch of really awesome people. So it was fun to share this with you as we talk about some of the things that we experienced at the PGA show, the people we met, and then really just what goes on sort of behind the scenes of, what we all do during that week, which is a really busy but really awesome week where we get to catch up with friends and meet new ones. So without further delay, let me get to this really funny conversation with the Condo podcast. Enjoy.
So today we have quite possibly the mother of all podcasts because we've combined 2 shows. The Guru has joined the Junior Golf Blueprint, and we're teaming up for a podcast at the PGA show. We got multiple coaches in the house. We got Chris Trevino, Jason Sutton, Kelly, say the last name for me.
Shelly Liddick.
Shelly Liddick. There you go. Had it right. And Brooke Watt, Jeff Smith. And we even have Kaniko Tischler hanging out with us, too, making sure we're supervised. So today's episode is kind of I don't know, what do you call it, like a free spin almost, really. Kind of go wherever we want with it.
Off the cuff, man.
Yeah, exactly, right? So let's do some introductions. We'll throw it over to Jeff because he's got a mic already. And give us your background. You've been on my show already once before.
I've been on your show, and it was
tragic.
It was a big mistake. Honestly, I think it cost me some points in the section.
Yeah.
So,
well, the technological defect is also helping. It doesn't help to your poltergeist argument.
No, it does not, does it? My name is Jeff Smith. I'm the director of instruction at the Sagamore Golf Club in Noblesville, Indiana, and at Timbergate Golf Course in Edinburgh, Indiana. And I've been teaching golf for, I don't know, somewhere between a millennium and an eon. And I got a lot of kids, and I got a lot of adults. I got a lot of kids that I've helped get into college, and a few of them have gone on to play professional golf. And fortunately, one of them actually had a PGA Tour win this year. So pretty cool stuff.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Shout out.
A lot of fun there.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
Brooke?
Wow, I got to follow that.
Yeah, and get on the mic too.
I am Brooke Watts. I am from Austin, Texas, Watts Golf ATX, and teach at Star Ranch. That's outside of Austin. I've been teaching now for over 10 years. Played in high school, college, qualified for the tour, and then that got me into instruction. So I teach a wide variety of students. I've got a 4-year-old all the way to a 90-year-old and everything in between.
Nice, covering your bases. All right, Shelly.
My name is Shelley Liddick. I'm the women's head golf coach at Bellevue University, which is in Bellevue, Nebraska, basically Omaha, Nebraska. I've just been in the golf coaching business for more years than I want to admit to, and very passionate about the college athlete and the student athlete experience in college. And I coach at the NAIA level, which means that you can accomplish a ton.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we get the bad rap that we're the low level, but amazing things can happen at the NAIA level in golf. As a matter of fact, one of the players that I coached just finished third in the Latin American Amateur, Jose Vega. And
Nice.
I'm so proud to
Congrats.
say that it's a dude that I've coached. And on the bag was another player at our university, Diego. So
Nice.
Sweet.
yeah,
That's awesome.
It's pretty awesome. So college golf is my passion, and it's just an environment where kids can really realize their full potential.
Absolutely. Guru, let's skip you and we'll go to Chris and let Chris introduce himself. Slide that mic over.
He's too famous.
Yeah, we know who Guru is.
I'm Chris Trevino, owner of Trevino Golf Institute in Reno, Nevada. I as well come from the playing side. I played on pretty much every tour in the world you can play on, except for the one you really want to play on. So came after beating my head against the wall for that for 10 years, decided to get into coaching. And I've been coaching for 9 years now. And I've been having some pretty good success with mostly juniors. It would be what I'd be touted for, but, good results with clients all across the board. So
awesome.
It's been going well.
Yeah, well, and Shelly's got some myth debunking for us as well, which I look forward to hearing. But what? Who wants to share some of the PGA Show insights they've had from this week? Who's had some fun stuff? Oh, we know who Guru is.
Oh.
If you don't know who Guru is,
Do you
his
not
name's
who
Jason,
I am?
Jason Sutton over here in the corner.
You don't know me, bro.
So who wants to share something from the show that they saw or learned or picked up something cool this year?
I'll tell you, I saw some things that were kind of blowing my mind as I was walking from place to place. I saw some things that I didn't think people would create. And I saw this thing from Tour Striker that it's got this big strap around your waist and it got this little cord that sticks onto your club. And they call it the Plane Mate. And I put one on, strapped it around, and started swinging the club, and it was helping me move the club and slide it and get it around. I thought that was pretty cool. Thought that was a pretty good thing. So we bought 648 of them, and we're gonna have them shipped to everybody we can find.
Martin Chuck thanks you for that.
Yeah, China's gonna be busy for a while.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Guru, you have some experience in the last few hours of having some fun with conversations just amongst teaching pros.
I can't get into that.
Yes. But talk about collaboration amongst pros at this time of year, like when everybody gets in the same spot.
Well, that's the thing, right? And that's a good way to kind of start the conversation. Is I've been coming down here for a long time. I don't think I've missed a year since I've been in the Carolinas, which is like 1997. So the longer my career goes, and then now being sort of pushed into a full-time teaching career, now I'm more interested in spending time with people, right? So, this condo, shout out to Jeff here that's allowed me to come in and be a part of the awesome group that we've had in the condo for the last few years, which is amazing.
I'm just impressed you're willing to sleep on the floor. So,
I thought he had the tub.
It's okay. I'm good with that, right? So that's the price you pay to like get better, right? So, but the point is, like the highlight is, and then Chris coming down, this year and being able to kind of hang out with me and meet some of my friends that are like way smarter than me, like James Lights. Yesterday we go to the Gears booth, which Gears has been around for a few years, but it's been sort of it still gets continually better and better. Technology is basically what we're looking at, right? As teachers, we're just kind of looking at what's the new technology, what's going to allow us to get to the solution a little bit quicker, what's going to make us a better teacher. But ultimately, it's the people, right? It's the instructors that, as I say, it's sort of the in the cracks stuff that interpret the data, interpret the information that we're getting from whatever you're using, whether it's TrackMan, FlightScope, Gears, whatever 3D you're using. And to be able to spend time with friends like James Lights for 2 hours, Chris made one swing at a tee, and we talked about it for 2 hours. Okay?
Dude, that's serious golf geek stuff right there.
Right? So that's the kind and I walked away, and I'm like, all right, that made my week, right? So it's like that's the kind of stuff I come down here for. And just to catch up with people, like we're, with social media and the relationships that we've all built across the country over the years, we can't all get together as much as we want to, right? We have families, we have jobs. So it's kind of like this is the ultimate cocktail party for teaching pros and golf pros and college coaches to get together and like say, what's up, right? What are you doing? Right. And share ideas. And that's been, my week has been fantastic, and we can go into whatever you want to talk about with what I've been doing this week, but that's the highlight for me. And I just, like you said, I just got done with the dinners, right? So it's like, and that's the thing. It's like, all right, who do you associate yourself with? Who are you going to surround yourself with, and go to dinner with, and then have the balls to ask the questions, the hard questions that are going to make you better as a person and better as a coach. And then that's sort of my goal for the week.
Well, and just to piggyback on what Jason just said, it's, collaborating, and, there's so much that we agree on, but there's also so much that we not necessarily agree on, but can we challenge each other?
You shouldn't agree on everything.
Right.
Okay?
And that's what I
Disagreement
loved about,
is the form of debate that makes us all better.
And that's what I loved about what you just said in that last bit is, you challenge each other, because if we all agree, well, we know how those countries in the past, worked out in world history. But yeah, if we challenge each other, it's like we're challenging each other to be better and think better. And okay, well, he said this or she said that, so is that true? And then we go off and we resource that all on our own, and that's how we become better at what we do. And it's really, like you said, Jason, human connection, because when it comes right down to it, that's the ultimate.
Yeah, and that's something that I watched McCabe talk about today on the TPI stage. We have all these metrics like you were talking about, measuring 3D and club and all that stuff for ground reaction, whatever. But you can't measure, what goes through somebody's head, like fear.
Can't measure heart.
Yeah. Anxiety, heart, depression. You can't measure all that stuff, right? So that's the stuff where you have to be able to communicate like we're doing right now, and the communication value is unmeasurable in that sense, because you have to be able to do it to connect with people. And that's what makes it tough, right? So, Jeff.
Yeah.
What do you look forward to this weekend with the education we got coming up for some of the bioswingers and all that fun stuff? Like, what's in there that people can expect?
Well, what I'm looking at right now, from what I've heard so far, we got a handful of PhDs who's been studying some of the things about how the grip affects every other part of it. And we all know as teachers that that's a big deal, but the PhDs are about to tell us what degree does a 1/4 inch make in many golf swings on the left-hand grip or the right-hand grip? What's it doing? How's it affecting it? How's it affecting the face relationship to its path? What did it just do to the angle of attack? And how much? And which is really more important? Trail hand, lead hand, lead wrist, trail wrist, however you want to look at it. They're going to talk about those things because they've been studying it.
So the hands are important in the golf swing?
Somewhat.
Wait, surely you can
I could
hold
try
the club
holding
a
it with
different way.
my elbows or something. I'm not sure. But the point is that they're trying to figure out how we can predict what one player is going to do from upper body to lower body. If your trail hand is, say, a little bit higher on the shaft, what does that mean in how your body's going to physically react? What's going to happen in the lower body? Are there trends? And if there are trends, how predictable are they? And how broad are they? I mean, would the same kind of thing work for everybody sitting at this table? Or how different would they be? Because we all know we can make certain adjustments, but we're thinking that we've got a good handle on how much that adjustment's going to happen. Well, these guys have been studying it, and they're going to tell us a lot. So I think one of the biggest things that I'm going to look for is some validation from somebody with a degree that's studied it more so than what I just see all the time. Because I can say that and I can have it in my own head that, man, this is pretty successful, but I want to make sure that I hear it from somebody who's said it better than I have or studied it, and next thing you know, I got a little bit more solid stuff in my head about what that's going to be.
And Brooke, you've been doing some of this stuff as well, but you're also doing your LPGA certifications and all that stuff. So where are you seeing, for the people that are aspiring to be, LPGA professionals as well? Like, where do you see the overlap, and where do you see the differences?
Well, I think one thing that's really great about the LPGA going through the Class A certification is there's not one way to teach somebody, and there's not one way to swing the golf club. And the LPGA's done a great job of expressing that from level 1. So I've gone through level 1, level 2, about to complete level 3, and they've been very clear about that. And bioswing dynamics is the exact same way. There's 1.8 billion ways to swing the golf club, and they're all correct depending on how you move. So the two mirror each other beautifully. And, it's all about the assessment. If we're not assessing our students, then we're guessing. So figuring out the assessments to do with the bioswing dynamic screens, and also certain questions that the LPGA that I've learned. How do you assess your student? Their learning style. How do they communicate? That as teachers, it's about that experience and being able to connect with that student. It's not always about, for a lot of our students, a better ball flight or a lower golf score. It's what's their goal. And I think that as instructors, it is trying to make sure we get that goal accomplished. And it can vary from a variety of different things.
Yeah, and Chris, why don't you piggyback off that, since you talked about teaching kids so much and you got experience playing behind, before your teaching career took off. So talk to us about that.
Well, I think, before, the first thing that thought about when Jeff was talking about how the PhDs are going to discuss the influences of how you hold the club and what's going to, transmit the actual club. That I'll never forget coming here 5 years ago, and we were in the condo, the other condo, and I just popped off and said, well, yeah, he's got a strong grip. And someone went, well, what do you mean by strong? And I went, well, it's just strong, dude. What do you mean? You don't know what the hell you're talking about. But I could already tell that obviously I'm leaving something out. He says, well, strong as it relates to leverage or rotation of the shaft. And I went, whoa. Oops. So, hey, okay, so I'm out of my league. Where I'm obviously coming from a player's perspective. This person was coming from a much more educated perspective in terms of, what your hands can actually do to a club in a multitude of different ways. I was simply just thinking your hands turn this way or your hands turn that way, right? And so that was the beginning of me being a lot more, I would use my ears a lot more than my mouth and just start trying to soak in as much as I could from all these different people. Because just something is, I now laugh in every lesson when someone goes, well, I got a strong grip. And I went, well, strong as it relates to what? Yeah, right? And then now all of a sudden, oh, that's why you're $100 an hour. Got it. Right? So it's just those little pearls that you pick up, when you're around here are huge. And, I think at the open forum, piggybacking off what Brooke is saying, is that I think with where the status of the game is and the fact that most of us are striving to be the best we can be, and a lot of times I think what gets lost in translation is that we want our students to be the best that they can be, but we don't often ask them, what does that mean for them, right? Like, that doesn't mean shooting 65 for everybody. That doesn't mean getting a scholarship. That doesn't mean playing in big-time tournaments under massive pressure. If it means getting a hybrid off the ground, and actually watching it soar through the air, or if it means just clipping a bunker shot and watching it spin on the green, I think again, so we're just going to go around everybody, this is a people's game. This is a game where you have to get to connect with the person that's in front of you and find out what the true meaning of improvement is for them, or even just the true meaning of, say, to sound corny, but what's joy for them? What's going to bring them happiness? What's going to keep them coming back to the golf course? And if that means you can teach them how to make a putt, hit a bunker shot, or smash a drive, then you're doing a great thing for the game and for that person.
Yeah, I just got an alligator tear on that one.
I know, dude. I gave it to you. That's how I roll, dude. I'm a sensitive guy, dude. I'm a sensitive guy. You should listen to my other podcast.
We're glad we paid him to come.
Yeah.
What just happened right there?
Wait, we paid him, and he's...
Was that my boy CT, or was that like...
Well, that was a hallmark moment.
Was that like Dalai Lama?
Yeah.
So, wait, we paid him, and he skipped on cooking dinner tonight?
Yeah, right.
Okay, we'll get revved up here. I promise you.
Right.
Okay? That's just a preview.
Right. I'm just wondering what happened that invaded his body.
Too much Lifetime, man.
That was Will Ferrell from Old School right there.
I've trained him way too well. No, but it shout out to you. Like we could go so many directions here, right? With our relationship, right? So it's like, no, you don't even know what I'm talking about. We're talking about instructional, like the fact that we're sleeping together doesn't matter. So
you mean in the same room?
In the same room.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. See, a family podcast.
It's all about the dinner that we had tonight. Was all about the effective use of language, right? And going back to the Guru podcast, Jim Rohn says, "Don't be lazy in language." So if you assume that we were actually sleeping together, what does that mean to you? We're just sleeping in the same room. No, what I'm talking about is the evolution of sort of where he's come from a player to a coach. And a lot of people have done that, right? You've seen Bradley Hughes, right? Mm-hmm. You've seen a lot of guys that have played the tour and women as well.
Right.
I've had Lita Lindley, unbelievable. You guys know her, right? I mean, that was one of my favorite interviews ever. Like multiple LPGA tour player, now teaching, right? So to make that switch from that competitive nature to actually coaching people is definitely difficult.
Well,
right?
and he talked about it too, where the strong grip portion, right? I mean, players know more about how it relates to them, and then to learn how things relate to other people is a big lead curve into a lot of people, and that's not easy when you've known it your way for 10 years, like you said, on running around. So it's tough.
Talk about the education that you've had in the last 5 years of sort of making that switch, and sort of, I know you're still holding on to that player deal because you're still a really good player, but now you're sort of a hybrid, as I would. Yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think when you come from the player's background, it's kill or be killed, so it's born into you. The deeper you get into tournament play, it's like this thing where, you've got this swag and everybody needs to know you're in the room and everybody needs to know you're on the range. And, and if a lot of times, unfortunately, you're probably making excuses about the greens not being good or this or that, and you've got to, when it comes to coaching, I just think that you can't carry your own baggage with you wherever you go. And that was one thing that was really hard for me to learn, is that I thought everybody wanted what I wanted for them. And because I wanted to smash people's face in and shit on their face and rub it in, that was born into me. That didn't necessarily apply to everybody else.
That's not a hallmark moment right there.
Yeah, I'm fucking back. I am back.
We've switched gears.
We've switched gears in a hurry.
Let's get this shit started now.
I did not see that coming.
But I think you know what what you just said is a great statement. I mean, one of the greatest athletes in our lifetime, Michael Jordan, he was a horrible coach, right? Because he wasn't willing to look at other aspects. And so what you just described was what he had, and that's what made him a great athlete.
Right.
But he, for whatever reason, couldn't make that switch.
Right.
And so a testimony to you as a human being is you've made that switch. And whoever you've surrounded yourself with, you know, has helped mentor you. And it is. It's not easy. We were talking about Lita. Yeah, she was LPGA winner. It's hard. Like, it's a different mentality.
Yeah, and that's that's another great question. Is I've always had that curiosity of players that have sort of gone from really playing at a high level to going to coaching. It's like you almost go from, you've got to be really self-centered as a player, sort of the ego-driven, right, to self-serving as a coach.
Well, selfless.
Selfless,
Right.
exactly. So it's like, how do you make that switch? Is it, I don't know, you can tell me, it's like, is it a mindset? Is it more like, you know, experience of like, all right, you know, this is sort of what I need to do? Or like, tell me what that is like.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a little bit situational, but like, it's kind of like, you know, when Lights was talking today about, you know, two crackheads always find themselves under a bridge, you know, somewhere. You know, that's just how it is. When you want some crack,
Again,
you're gonna go where crack is, right?
Yeah.
So if I get a kid that says, "Yo, I'm,"
comes from New Orleans,
you know, yeah. He's like, you know, if I get a kid that says, "Hey, I want to smash someone's face in," it's like, that's my crack, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, all of a sudden, all those things that I keep buried down inside,
Your juices start flowing.
for that person, I'll get to be maybe who I truly am, or who I trained myself to be. And then otherwise, you know, we all to some degree are putting on a little bit of a show. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a show in the sense you're being fake, but you are adjusting depending on the person that's in front of you, whether it's a doctor, whether it's a little 5-year-old, whether it's a, you know, JGA player looking to get a D1 scholarship, whether it's a know-it-all, you know, CEO of some business wants to come and tell you everything he's doing wrong as if you work for him, and you got to shut him the fuck up and tell him, in this arena you don't know shit, so shut your mouth. So those things are hard, but you got to pick and choose when to alter your personality, and I don't know, I think I'm just getting better at doing that.
Well, I think that's what's hard too when you teach a lot of kids is that you don't always get the kid that has the killer instinct like you're talking about, right? You have the mellow kid, and you have all these different personalities of kids, and like you said, you find the one that you can relate to. But the hard part is not trying to project what you are onto that kid, and that's where coaching gets hard.
And then hopefully the parents' expectations of that mellow kid are where they should be, right? That mellow kid that doesn't maybe want to be a fantastic golfer, doesn't want to be a super competitive player. Hopefully the dynamic at home is in a place where you don't have to be that therapist, because we've all been that therapist for that, to get in between that kid and that parent and say, yo, Pops, your kid doesn't want that shit, dude. So why don't you pump the fucking brakes and chill out, and then we can figure all this shit out. But for now, you're going to have to be happy with his goofy ass shooting 82, because that's who he is right now. And I don't know if we can train it out of him, but if he's not going to be the guy getting you up at 6 a.m, making you take him to me or making you take him to a golf course, if he doesn't want to stay there all day long and grind, then this ain't his thing. Now, it doesn't mean you guys can't go out on a Sunday and have a great time as a family, and, you know, he'll shoot 90, but he's not going to be winning the USAM anytime soon.
Okay, so I want to take off on what you just said, because I see this happen a lot. Parents pushing their kids, and what you just said, if that kid's not dragging dad to take him there, then that's probably not the one that's really going to get it done at the highest of high levels. One of the things I always used to do when I was teaching at Otter Creek, big building out back, and the thing had just gigantic windows all the time. And you could look out over the practice area. And all the time, I would bring the kids in, and I would just take a look. And I'd stand with them one by one. They'd stand next to me, and I said, you tell me what you see. And then they'd say, okay, I got two guys on the left end of the driving range that are just smacking golf balls, and they're cracking jokes. And I said, how serious are they? And they said, well, clearly not. I said, do you see anybody out here that looks like they're trying to do stuff? And they're pointing down to one guy over there. I said, why do you see that? Why do you know that they're serious about what's going on? And the answer is usually something along the lines of they're by themselves, they're paying attention, they're setting their shots up, everything looks like there's intent.
They've got a training aid.
Right. Something like that. There's intent to do something instead of just going out there and screwing off and hitting golf balls and acting like they got something done because they're not getting anything accomplished. That's exercise and spending time. That's not really going at it. So I like to take my kids out there. And one of the things that I showed some kids that were in 8th grade one time who was out there at the range, and there's a kid out there knocking it dead. He's at the time he's there, he's a college-age kid, and I've been working with him since he was in 8th grade, and his name was Tyler Duncan, and he was out working everybody. Every time I'd bring somebody up there, he's out there. And he's working
kind of a big deal.
He's kind of a big deal now, yeah. And at that time, he was creating the big deal that he is now, right? Yep. That was it. Now, so the other guys that I'd take up there and I'd walk out, and I'd look at them, I said, who do you want to be out there? And then they'd start making their decisions. And 2 of them wound up winning a state championship. Christian Fairbanks, Michael Van Devender. They took their high school team to a state championship. They both won as individuals. They co-medaled. And you know what they did? They didn't play it off. Same year, they wouldn't play it. They were too good of friends. And you know, it was. I learned something that day from them, and I told them I was there that day, and I said, look, I learned something about friendship that day because I never had a friend that good. Because I was going to take somebody out there. If that was me, I'm taking you to the golf course, and I'm going to kick your butt right now, and I'm going to win the state championship. Right. But what happened is the very next morning I was out teaching. And it was 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm standing on the lesson tee, and here they both come. Bags in hand, warm up, and I look at them, and I'm looking at Michael Van Devender and Christian Fairbanks dead in the eyes, and I knew what they were doing. That was it. That's where they were going to settle it. So they were good enough friends to share that thing, but somebody was coming away with the win the next day. And to this day, neither of them will talk about it, but I know who won.
It's a movie that's coming out later in 2022. Just be prepared. They got roles being filled.
Rocky
But I'm telling you though, but those are the guys that got the fire. You can see it, right? And those are the ones that they were the ones dragging their parents out. Yep. They were the ones in their car. Like usually when a kid gets 16 years old, you find out real fast how much the kid really wants to play golf because all of a sudden he's got his driver's license. And God help him if he's got a gold chain around his neck and a car, because he's done. There's no golf in that. Yeah. He's done.
The car definitely puts a dent in the whole deal. Mm-hmm. And the opposite sex is undefeated.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. I've seen more of that ruined a high school career and a potential college career. I've seen that because all of a sudden the level of interest changes. Right? Right?
He said it a little different.
Yeah, no, yeah, he did say a little different. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. Those those priorities start to change, and you got new friends, and you got some new interest, and all those kind of things start to take shape. But yeah, I've lost many a kid to a driver's license, that's for sure.
Well, I think it's also important of what motivates students. I know that when my students were getting ready for the district tournament in Texas, it was always, I would choose a song for all the high schoolers, or this is going to be our theme song. And then finally I got it in my head, and I was like, well, what, y'all throw out a song. Like, what motivates you? And I was stunned at what they picked. One, I will never forget this. I did not see this coming. It was Glenn Campbell, Rhinestone Cowboy.
Oh, my Lord.
And I was like, kidding me. I was like, and this is what fires you up. And he was like, yeah. Wow. And I mean, he was dead serious. I was like, what about it? He's like, what about it do you not like?
Wow.
What are you, 90?
Wow.
It's like a raccoon going backwards on a lake.
That's being confused like a baby raccoon.
Right?
And riding backwards on a dolphin. Get it right, Chris. While drinking from a fire hose. I don't know what's so hard to understand.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I hear that every day.
That's crazy. We talk about this. It brings up a great topic, right? The music thing. Who's got their headphones? What are they playing?
Yeah.
How does that help them? Does it help them?
Pop culture, man.
Right?
Yeah.
What is it helping them? I remember when I was a kid, everything was fast. I mean, I was into AC/DC, I was into Van Halen and Metallica and Quiet Riot, and I was all about that thing, right? And that would get me all jacked up to do anything. I'm out there in the wintertime in Indiana shooting baskets in the winter. I'm scraping off the driveway, getting all the grit and rid of the snow and the ice, and I'm doing all that. And I'm in the summertime, I'm doing the golf thing, and I'm doing that. And I see kids with their iPods in right now, their AirPods in, and they're just going at it. And something's in there getting them cranked up. And they're practicing, and they're serious about what's going on. I'm a believer in that. I think that matters. But, man, Rhinestone Cowboy?
Rhinestone
really?
Cowboy.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence on that. Like, I
Glenn
think
Campbell?
No, just with the AirPods thing, like warming up with headphones on, right? So I think audio is feel. So when you can't hear the sound of impact, I think it definitely affects the feel of the shot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of yeah. So I'm kind of on the fence. I know it's the other side is like I think I like the fact that they're not talking to their friends, like because you know I've got a kid that just went to college to play golf, and I saw it all through junior golf where you know we've got an hour warm up and he warmed up for 20 minutes because he was talking for the 20 other minutes with his friends. So I see both sides, but I think it can be distracting in sort of like, how are we really preparing to play?
Right. And I think that if you're warming up and preparing to play, yeah, okay, what's it really going to work for that player, right? How are they really going to do it if it's warming up to play? But when I see them out there practicing and they got it going, I wonder, what is it? Is it working? Is it not working? But, you know, what I see with my eyes, if they can find a way to isolate themselves to do it, and they're still out there cranked up to do it, and they're doing it for hour after hour after hour, then maybe it's a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's basically a two-way deal where it's like eliminating distractions or eliminating maybe real life, right? Because you're not going to play in headphones.
Right.
So I have a lot to, as a college coach, I have a lot to say on this.
I was going to ask, like,
I want to hear
bring
this.
your thoughts
There's
into
probably
because I mean that's kind of the
I
way.
was trying to interrupt those two.
Right, I know.
You're doing a terrible job.
They love each other.
You're fired.
Get me away from the mic.
But I mean that's kind of the way of the world for kids now. Because when I was playing college golf, it would have been way awkward to have that Walkman in a cassette tape stuck to my belt loop. But today's kids, you know, whatever.
And there's cords.
Right? Yeah,
right.
It's such a hindrance back then.
I tried running those up the back of my shirt.
I never could get it right. But I learned early on from one of my college coach mentors, Linda Volstead, you know, won 1 million national championships at Arizona State. And so she's really mentored me through a lot of things and lots of questions like this. And so, you know, one of the things that she always said was, yeah, music is great. Absolutely, 100%. Let each kid individually listen to their music on the way to the course. But once you get to the course, no. It's, you know, it's time to prepare. You know, because at practice, you know, if they're on the range or however a coach does their practice, and each individual kid's supposedly listening to music, you can't do that when you're on the course competing, right? So why would you ever practice like that?
There you go.
All right, so
I do not allow AirPods or whatever nowadays.
So
from the hotel to the golf course, absolutely, 100%.
My question to that is, though, so like when I always played my best as a junior golfer, I had a song in my head.
Yes,
right?
Of course you did.
And so
we all did.
Right. So
on
that's
the way
like,
to the course.
and when I was playing, man, I like.
No, I'm talking about that's where you got it.
Well, that's what I was going to go with, right?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
so where you hit that point is like, you know, the lead up to the moment, right? But then also, like when you're on the track, like that rhythm. Like for me, it was the rhythm. Like it's never been about lyrics as much as it's been about like a beat, a pulse, something like
Yes.
that, right? And that's what would always kind of set the tone, and then I would find something to kind of latch on to, and then that would ride me for the 4 hours. Because, man, let's be honest, you can't think for 4.5 hours
No,
straight. You
nobody
got to
can.
have that filler, right? And that's what would fill my mind. And to your point, like if the team wanted to listen to some crap on the radio, never a good day.
So, well, and so as a coach, when we go from the hotel to the golf course, I am so conscious of, like, I don't have the radio on because I could have my own personal choice of music on, but it might not jive with the girls' own internal rhythms. So I encourage them to listen to their own music on the way to the course. And it's silent as far as I know, because I'm not listening to anything, but they all, look, and they all have their beats and whatever. But they know, because I train them this way, that when we get to the course, off. Doesn't happen. Never happened in practice. The freshmen always try to get away with it in some sort of way. And then the juniors and seniors go, Coach is going to kill you if you do that. Take him off now.
Well, and Jason, you kind of hit on it too. Like when I was a kid, I had a lightning moment. Like when I was a junior, like my dad came up to me and said that my rounds were always more, like I was always scoring higher when I warmed up in the center of the driving range, like or wherever the main walk-up was. Because all the flow would go by me. I'd see my friends or I'd see competitors or whatever, right? And there was just too much distraction. And so after like 2 or 3 events in a row, my dad brought it up. He's like, hey, every time you're like here and that's where like you just walk straight off the the ramp or straight off from the picking machine or whatever and go right to the range, you shoot like 4 shots higher. Why don't you go try and go to an end of the range and warm up? And when I started doing that and going to more of like an isolation kind of warm up, it was like day and night. Like all of a sudden it was just like, it wasn't even a question. I would make it a point to avoid the middle of a driving range.
Yeah, that was something I talked to my son a ton about, like even on the golf course. Like it's the little things. And he would always say, oh, Dad, you're just being dad or being coach, because I was his coach. It's like, after you hit a shot, where are you going to walk? Right? Down the fairway. And I hated the chatter. Okay? Because, again, and I couldn't tell, like, there was a fine line between, like, what I sort of believed in as far as, like, me being a player. Like, I needed to, like, I just don't believe the brain can, like, do 2 things. I don't think you can talk and, like, pull the trigger on the next 2 seconds and hit a good golf shot. That's just me. Yeah. Like, that's me as a coach, right? And he did that constantly. And he's like, oh, no, it didn't make any difference. I'm like, really? Okay, let's talk about your round today. So we had this debate. So I'm just like, you have a decision to, like, how much you can talk to your playing competitors and how much you can, like, avoid them. And I think the best players get in a bubble. I think the best junior players have that sort of space where they get in a bubble and they focus on what they're trying to do. And in between shots, I know there's some lulls in the round or whatever, and they can talk a little bit. And that's just me as a coach. I'm just like, save the chatter for after the round, okay? Let's not go there. And then also, it's like don't tell anybody what you're how you're shooting. That's another thing that I hate.
Yeah, I agree.
When you're 4 under, don't tell anybody you're 4 under, because next hole you're gonna make a bogey. It's just karma, right? Right. It just drives me crazy, right? But it's a great point. I mean, again, this is just me. Again, I'm old. I'm like freaking. I've been around for 100 years. But
you look like it too.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So, man, I'm just telling you, I've watched a lot of junior golf. It's one thing to. I've got to write a book about this. Dad coach relationship, like what I've experienced.
We could collaborate on that.
I know you too, right, Jeff? We have this.
Kids.
We have this thing in common. So the same thing. It's just like the little things, but again, after you bring it up to your son / player, okay, they're gonna say you're full of shit. But okay, why'd you shoot 76? Well, because you were more interested in what the kid was doing in school or whatever his girlfriend was doing than focusing on your shot. So it's like, come on, man. Like you have an opportunity every hole to like walk wherever you want to walk. You don't have to walk down the same fairway or like beside each other and like talk. Right. I don't know. I would love to hear the coach's perspective on that, because it's just something that drives me crazy.
Well, I mean, it's.
Do you coach that? Do you talk to your players about that at all?
Well, there's always that.
I know there's some sociability like that,
right.
Especially with women. Like with girls, It's probably probably worse. But it's like there's got to be something to where like you shut it off. It's time to hit a shot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so in my realm of, how I talk about things, you're talking about your bubble.
Yeah.
And so absolutely, like the best players are able to walk into the bubble, hit their shot, be in that zone moment for 4 to 8 seconds, because that's what it takes to be in the moment for a golf shot. And then you can kind of come out of it. And if you have to talk to your playing companion, it's like,
Yeah, it's fine for a little bit.
Right.
But then it can get excessive, like if you got a chatty player.
Yes.
Like we've all seen it. We've seen it in junior golf. We see it in college golf, I'm sure, where just the player just won't shut up.
Well, and that's part of a piece of management which potentially could be outside of your control, because you cannot control who you're playing with, but you can control how you react to that. So yes, what you're saying is, okay, this guy is a little more chatty than I like, so I'm going to walk down this. But we have to train our players that, you know what, it's okay if you walk down the left side and chatty Kathy or chatty Pete.
Yeah.
Caitlin is
Chatty
walking down the
Pete.
right side.
Chatty Pete's. We got raccoons riding dolphins backwards
went down
and
that
Chatty
road.
Pete's.
I don't know. I don't know how you say that.
Yeah,
I
I
want
get
it
it.
to be,
Yeah,
because of where. But yeah, but as a coach, and especially the younger players, you have to let them know that, you know what, it's okay that you don't agree with that and you want to walk down that way.
Yeah.
And working with females, 18 to 22-year-olds, there's a little more emotional and
You're not being rude by
exactly.
not
And
Yes.
we
That's
literally
it. Exactly. It's
I
like,
literally in practice have my girls practice that. But
thank you. That's what I'm talking about. Like, how many times have we heard
It's
Tiger or Annika or somebody like talk about like they don't talk at all, right? It's like very, very disengaging. That's strategic. One, it's like it sets a message. I would love to hear from Chris because he's played at a high level. It's like, I'm gonna beat your ass. Like I don't care what you did for dinner last night. I don't care who you talk to, right? But we know, like, I would always see the pairings come out because I knew all the junior players my kid was playing against. I'm like, oh, geez, here we go. It's like, this is a chatty guy. And then I would remind him, and he'd be like, oh, it's not a big deal. I'm like, it is a big deal.
Mhm.
Like, you've got to prepare for that.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
That's the variable stuff that, like, you don't think about. Talked about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, couple things. Now let's go through this. We're pretty similar on a lot of things, right? And on this one, I've seen so many different things just in my own. I got 3 kids, 3 completely different personalities, right? 2 of them are intense. One of them is intense but chatty. That's kind of weird. That's like the mix you never see, right? Yeah. I got one of them, right?
Yeah.
Right, but that's my son. Yeah. He's going to talk to you.
Sometimes I use it as an advantage.
Right.
So
right.
Sometimes I use it as an advantage, and I get that. Like, you got to know, like, when. But I'm talking, there's a level of, like, there's a line you got to cross that is going to, like, impede your focus of, like, actually hitting the shot. And then there's another line where it's like, okay, well, maybe it's not enough. Right.
What I had to do with him is say, okay, when does it switch to I'm 100% into my shot? And so what we found out was that all we had to do was create the time. And for him, it was when the bag came off the shoulder and hit the ground. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, when I started to get paying attention to my routine, getting into my shot, and all of a sudden, bam, my switch has flipped from I can be anywhere in my head, and then all of a sudden, damn, I'm in the moment right now. Mine was when my club hit my left hand. I've chosen it, and I've done all that decision. As soon as it hits my left hand, I'm in there. That's my trigger. His was when his bag hit the ground. My daughter, Rebecca, was intense the whole time, to the point where she was polite. She was not the one that was going to do a lot of the talking. But if somebody's talking to her, she'll respond politely, but not too often. And my daughter, Caroline, also a great player, she was the one that needed to be the one feeling like we're going to talk a little bit, and I'm going to enjoy what I'm doing. She played her best when she enjoyed what she was doing. Now, Rebecca, no chance she's listening to any music. Drew, he's listening to it. Caroline, she's listening to it. Caroline needed something else, because what would happen to her in college golf, also in high school golf, is that if that little edge got taken off by the music, right, then she wouldn't get too nervous, right? Because she could get herself too worked up to play well because of the silence. and she couldn't do it. But Rebecca wanted the silence because she was getting ready to carve your heart out on the golf course. And Drew wanted the intensity, so the music he played got him all cranked up. He was a Nickelback guy. I kind of got him into that because I'm a headbanger, right? But Drew would find out when to turn that in, that he got pumped up into intensity. And we found out that for him, he could get angry on the golf course and play better. Rebecca could get angry on the golf course and play better. Caroline, there's no chance. Yeah. If she got angry, it was done. Yeah. She was done. So it was interesting.
Yeah, it would be fair to say that you got to find out that what's your personality trait that's going to allow you to play the best, right? Right. And I'm not saying not talk to anybody. That's right. Not my point. It's just like when I start seeing this pattern of like, okay, we got a chatty group and then we're starting to see bad results. Maybe there's an issue, right? Because my kid's real social.
Maybe nobody's serious enough.
Yeah, my son Nicholas is like, he'll talk to that wall right there and like, have a conversation. So it's like, know when you need to back off and like, okay, well, I need to focus a little bit more. Right? So it's like, I mean, it's hard for us as coaches because we don't watch our players play that much. Right?
You're right.
How do you make that decision? So that's more in the parents' realms. Like, all right, maybe my kid's like a little chatty. Maybe they need to open up more. Right? How do you figure that out? There's a book for you right there, Jeff.
I know it. Because we could sit there and go, man, this is it.
Well, I think, it's also talking to your players. I talked about my own playing experience, and talking requires a lot of energy. And I've said a lot of the times when you were engaged in these conversations, you're zapping your own energy of being able to play 18 holes. And I tell them this story. It's a great story for podcasts like this. I was in Weatherford, Oklahoma, playing a collegiate golf tournament, and I was playing with Sassy, who was a former stripper and gave up smoking. And I got so engaged.
You can't script this.
No, you can't. It gets better. And she could not play around and smoke because it was an NCAA tournament. And so I got so involved with where she's going to put this Nicorette patch for 18 holes. And we had to change this thing out because one Nicorette patch only got us through 9 holes.
Oh, jeez.
I was zapped after this round because I got so damn involved in Sassy's nicotine addiction. I'm not proud of it.
Yeah, 36 all day. Yeah, right.
I didn't.
36-18 that day.
It wasn't one of my best rounds, but it's a great story for my players and for tonight. So, when you're talking, it requires a lot of energy. So does apparently quitting smoking.
I mean,
that's awesome.
That's impressive.
What's your thoughts on that?
Your turn.
Tell us about your stripper nicotine problem.
Yeah, so there's this 2 strippers I was playing with, the Chippendales.
These 2 strippers walked into a bar.
Nationwide, yeah, they barely got on a nationwide tour because they were late nights at Chippendales. And it was really awkward.
By the way, this whole thing's not making the Junior Golf Blueprint.
Yeah,
yeah, boy, it's all about energy, y'all.
Yeah,
it comes back to energy.
They had a 6-pack and a banana hammock, and I had like a 1-pack and shit. It was intimidating.
Well, in Australia, they call it a budgie smuggler.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
nice. Oh shit! Woo! All right.
No, it's true. So I spent the entire month of December in Australia. And my sister lives down there, and I went to this tournament.
I don't know if you need a month to learn about that, though.
Well, no,
Shelley.
I mean, they're right.
6 minutes at the most,
right? Well, I went to there's some little tournament down there I think they called it the President's
Why are we talking
Cup.
about little?
Yeah, but in all seriousness, no, I spent a month in Australia, and I made it my mission on my Twitter feed, which you should follow me because I'm really funny.
What's your handle? You can't just say that, not leave your handle.
I don't know.
Oh, that's
what?
You don't know your handle? No, it's
I don't know.
At Coach Liddick.
Okay,
at Coach _Liddick.
Do I need to get on Twitter right now and confirm this for you?
No, you should.
Okay.
Look up at budgiesmuggler.com.
Right, that's not going on my history.
No. I joke that I'm funny, but I really am. So when I was in Australia, I did an Australian word of the day.
It's Coach_Liddick.
Yes.
There you go.
There you go. The underscore kills everybody.
Right?
By the way.
And so one of my words was, well, and so I made it my mission. This is way off, but
We've lost the golf subject at this point.
All right,
just
I'll just do
finish
this.
the story.
all right. So I'll just so I made it because we all know like the Aussies have like their own kind of way of using normal English language, and so I did an Aussie word of the day and used it in a sentence. And so one of the words I used was budgie smuggler, and how I used it in a sentence was that bloke's budgie smuggler is telling me that the temperature in the bay is very cold.
I love it.
You definitely are changing your Twitter handle right now to that.
How do you spell that right
So
now? That
anywho-
needs to become your handle.
It's going to become your Twitter handle right now.
When we're talking about
Change it.
There are Google history searches
optimum
getting ruined
performance
at the
in
moment.
golf.
Oh, there we go. Back to golf.
And tying it back to golf.
Yes.
The longest segue I've ever heard.
I've heard. I'm imagining like Mac O'Grady in the Speedo right now.
That's your fantasy.
Yeah, that's Chris's fantasy.
Wow.
I mean, we want perfect patterns, don't we?
It's gonna get me squammed down that lower exit, son. I'll take it. Give me that shaft a little lower, son. This piece of shit. There we go. All right. Thanks for that. All started with you, as usual.
Yes.
That's right. The Texan took us down
That
the
was the
dirt
Texans' fault.
Yes, it was.
Can't remember where we were.
Remember the Alamo?
No, but I think again, I think that, how do I put it? When I'm listening to all you guys talk about this kind of stuff, the word that comes to mind for me is like your aura or your energy. Mm-hmm. Like when you present, and it probably, some of it comes naturally, some of it comes because of your results, some of it comes just because the kind of person that you think you are. But when you carry yourself a certain way, you don't have to talk to anybody, and nobody will talk to you. So it's just a matter of presenting a certain aura from the word go.
You swag.
Yeah, it's like
Swagger bubble.
like the way you shake someone's hand, how you're filling out their scorecard on the first tee, how you're getting your pin sheet ready, like everything about the first 2 or 3 holes. And I'm going to use a bad term here because I don't know the PC term, but it is a dick measuring contest for boys anyway on the first 3 holes to see who the alpha male in the group is. Once you've established you're the alpha male in the group, then everything concedes to you. Right, and whether that's the chatty kid or whether it's the long kid off the tee or whether it's the kid that birdies the first 3 and controls himself, like the kid that looks like he knew he was going to birdie the first 3, that kid controls the group. The kid that's kind of like, holy shit, look at me, I'm 3 under, woo-wee woo, right? Now everyone's going, oh, this fucking chump, get out of here, right? So I just made it a point, and it's funny, we go back to the range story. I would purposefully, as a righty, I didn't want to look at anybody's swing when I was warming up. So I would start on the left on purpose, purposefully slow roll my walk past everybody, and all I needed was 1 or 2 people to stop what they were doing to recognize I was on property and whisper to another guy, game over. That gave me the confidence, no matter how I was warming up, no matter how I was playing the week before, just the fact that I heard go, oh, that's Chris Trevino right there. Be like, yeah, bitch, I am here right now, right? And then I would go as far right as I could. I couldn't always get, the farthest right stall, but I would go as far right as I could, and I just wanted everybody to know I was there. Now, some of them that are other good players like me, they couldn't give 2 shits that I was walking by. But that's when you recognize your counterpart.
But you
right?
eliminated the field, right? Some of it.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, I've got the 90-10 rule going, right? Exactly. So it's like I know 90% of these kids, if they're being interrupted by me walking by them on the range and wondering what I'm doing, they're fucked. Yeah. Right? And you know, right. you know who you are.
They're not driven to their own thing,
right?
Regardless of anything else going on.
And I told one of my stories on, I'm famous for my stories on Guru's podcast, but one of my stories was about Billy Casper when I met Billy Casper for the first time. And I was being kind of auditioned by these guys in a Friday money game to get sponsored when I was playing professionally. And so, unbeknownst to me, they pair me up with Billy Casper. And he's going to be sort of, because he's the godfather of this course that we're playing at.
Right.
And basically, I had no idea what was going on, but I get to the first tee. I can see this older gentleman, kind of pear-shaped guy. He turns around, looks me in the eye, and I'm going, oh, shit, it's Billy Casper. He looks at me and goes, you must be Chris Trevino. I said, yes, sir. He goes, play hard, kid. Didn't say a word to me for 4 hours. Until the last hole, right? I had to putt to shoot 63 on the 18th green, and I'm over my 8-footer for birdie, which I think is going left to right, because the whole course kind of goes that way.
Right.
And I'm over. I had already taken my practice strokes, pumped the putter behind the ball, stepped in, was about to pull the trigger, and he goes, what read you got? The first words he said to me all day. Right? Now, these are old school guys, right? Where the purses were shit, and you couldn't afford to finish 20th. Now you're glorified for finishing 25th on any tour fucking forever. You can make a living doing it. You couldn't do that before. Right? It was like win or die, right? It was like either your family wasn't eating or you're winning, right? There wasn't any room for 20th place dudes that make, $3 million a year, right? I mean, that's just not how it went back then. So these guys were pretty cutthroat. Another story, I qualified for the Mexican Open. This will be my last one for this
Wait a minute, you're not done. You're not done. You're not done.
What?
Did you make the
Oh. So you want me to finish? God, that's a bad one. So, so
Right.
I back off, and he said, I said, excuse me, and he said, what read do you have? I said, left edge. And he goes, ugh.
Yeah.
Oof.
Right.
He gave me the oof.
That's like the double dick move right there.
Yeah, total.
You don't know which one to trust.
Right, so I'm playing with these guys. I'm playing really well, obviously, and now my mind starts going 1,000 miles an hour. Like, okay, is he fucking with me because he's super old school and he wants me to miss this, or is he screwing with me? And then if I go with his read, if I change what I'm doing, and these guys see that I changed what I want to do, am I not my own man? Do I not live by my own decisions? Am I just going to go with this superstar Hall of Fame guy, which I probably should, but am I just going to go
So
with
you
him?
really had all those thoughts between
hell yeah.
that? Okay.
Oh, hell yeah.
Just
Well,
wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and in this case, it
a lot.
wasn't.
And it didn't go in.
Yeah, hey, fuck you.
It's a long story to say. I missed it.
I missed it.
Right.
But I just decided, you know what?
Lunga.
Screw this guy. He hasn't said shit to me all day. If I miss it, at least I miss it on my terms, and I can live with that. And he was trying to help me, so I whiffed it. I airballed it way left. It was actually breaking left, and I thought I was breaking right.
Yeah.
So now I can go to the next story. What was the other?
Yeah, so Mexican Open used to be a big deal back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It was a pay-for-play event. So Nick Price, Vijay Singh, Sergio, like Scott Verplank, freaking like Fred Couples. This was an off-season like fake money event for these guys.
So in the Mexican Open, did you play? What is it? The Devil's Taint or?
No, El Chapo's.
El Chapo's Taint.
Yes. And you
Was
can
that part of it?
With Club Pro guy.
Club Pro guy? No.
Okay. I'm out of the loop on that one. Who's that?
Sorry, I had to. I got
your back, Coach.
I digress. No, I had to. No, I had to. Sorry.
Oh, the flip flops give it away.
They do. But I get paired with Jeff Sluman and Scott Verplank. If you know any of those guys, they're older guys now. They were kind of like on their way out, like in that early 2000s realm. But it's the first time I ever hit a ball in front of like 10,000 people. Like they had this huge amphitheater behind the first tee, and it's like packed all the way to the top, right? And so going through my low,
looky what the cat just drug in.
Honger.
Little Pep has somebody's bedtime.
Yeah. So I get up, start waggling, doing my thing, and I straight up, and I'm nervous, way more nervous than I should be, but I'm super nervous. It's like my 4th pro event I've ever played in. And I almost topped it, right? I mean, this ball didn't get more than 3 feet in the air. Went probably 150 yards, fucking low, skanky fade, dead in the wrecking right shit, right? So they have the pro cut, that little pro cut that you walk down the middle of the fairway, right? So we start walking down the fairway, and, the caddies are kind of walking off. Well, Verplank holds back, and he looks at me and goes, you okay? I go, yeah. He goes, you do know all those people paid to watch you hit a golf ball today, right? And I went,
ow.
I'm sorry. He goes,
ow.
Get your head out of your ass. start acting like a professional because that's not how we do shit around here. And then he didn't say a word to me for the rest of the tournament. So, yeah, it was one of those, fuck you, but that's how much pride these guys take in what they do. It's like, hey, look, dude, if you're going to be one of us, quit this nervous shit. These people came here to watch you. You're the star of this show. Quit giving them power. Empower yourself and hit a fucking golf ball the way you know how.
But what a great lesson at any level of the game. Giving your power away.
Yeah, for sure.
Wow. We got a star in the house. Finally rolls in.
Finally.
Yeah.
Fogo de Chao is now officially out of business.
Right. Been cramming his face full of flesh.
I just want to say one thing.
Get your ass in here.
Come on.
So we're not kidding.
Got Mr. James Hong in the house.
Come
on,
backpack
bring
down. The backpack parade is over. Okay, and it's not even Titleist, which is
go to the fridge and restock.
Let's go. Yeah.
He's been out screwing around, watching drunk people talk. So now he finally gets in the house.
Oh boy.
There's no way your mind can be more melted than ours after our dinner combo.
We
haven't heard.
We didn't think we'd ever hear in our lifetimes tonight. Yeah.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
So what do you think? Where should we go? Should we get back to the PGA show? What?
Yeah, why not?
What do you want to do?
We were all there. James walked around a lot. He was not doing too much.
I think James is actually intro like his actual self at the moment because people think he's like a Wookiee or something.
All right.
There's that awkward 10-second silence.
Right. Come
on. We're waiting.
Do you want
we're willing to wait.
Tell everybody who the heck you are.
It's an awkward 10-second silence for us, but I can edit that out.
My name is my name is James Hong. Director of Instruction at Harbor Links Golf Course in Port Washington, New York.
Dude, we don't care about your resume. Who are you?
Who are you?
Who really are you?
Who really am I?
What do you believe in?
What do I believe in?
Yeah.
Lego Star Wars.
He's answering the question. He's answering the question with the same question for a stalling.
I get the feeling I'm being set up here.
Oh, you are.
Mommy.
You don't know how much we've talked about you before you got here.
That's right.
You have no idea. I just want to know one thing. How the hell did you sneak all those donuts into here?
Wow.
What the hell?
He went there.
While eating Oreos for breakfast.
How in the hell did you get all those in your room?
Well, I knew you had a large appetite, Jeff.
God. So. I'm like, did you order like a truckload or something?
Yeah, I ordered a truckload.
Wow.
Unreal. The donut stories just never end.
They won't.
Yeah.
They won't. You'll be dead and we'll
just
still
for
be talking
posterity,
about it.
The last time I had a donut was about 14 months ago.
Bullshit.
That might end tonight.
Oh, no. Why do I have a feeling that if I go into my bedroom, there's like donuts all over the room?
Did you not see the Instagram picture?
No, not yet.
Just wait.
It's the white powdery kind.
Oh. Oh, I knew I shouldn't have come back.
It's all right. You should have heard what we said about you before you were even in the room.
Yes, folks, this is all about golf instruction.
No, that ship sailed like way back to strippers playing golf.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you missed out.
That ended in podcast number 17.
Right. The chick
James Ridyard and
the chick from Texas took the show down.
That is not true. We all were part of
No,
it.
she's gonna get back on. She's gonna
that person is loony as a tune.
So tell us about your day. What happened today in the life of the Honger at the PGA show?
What happened today?
Who'd you share with?
Well, we went this morning to listen to Rick Murphy speak about what was it? Conexit, right?
Right.
That was an interesting presentation that he had, providing basically fitness into your golf instruction. And then after that, we went out on the show floor and just kind of walked around, just checked out things like some of the booths that I didn't get a chance to visit yesterday, walked by. And so I concentrated basically in the area where there were grips, shafts, stuff like that. Just walking around, see if there's anything that catches my eye. And then I went over, kind of hung out by the Smart to Move booth. And because like right around that area, there's about 4 or 5 booths that I know about. So I was just walking around that area for the
Anything new and exciting that you've seen that golfers out there should buy, or instructors?
I wouldn't say there was anything that was like a wow factor. I mean, the only thing that I saw that I didn't expect to see was when I was at the Well Putt booth, they had virtual reality putting, and it's in its alpha testing stage. So they put the goggles on me, and you're not actually putting, but it's just like seeing what it looks like. And
you can pick a golf ball up.
Right, exactly. Pick the ball up, walk around, so to speak. You're actually using the controllers to move around like a video game.
Yeah, I experienced that as well.
Right,
That was crazy.
It was fun. I mean, there's a lot of potential for that. They were telling me probably coming out about December this year. I was looking at that. I was looking at their putting table, the one that's like that moves and also has the lasers on it.
And the projector too. That shows the line.
Right, exactly.
VR is kind of the next frontier, I think.
Yeah, it looks that way. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, and just to speak on that, as a coach, that's what I came to the show, was looking for some VR stuff.
Yeah.
Because 2 years ago, I can't remember the name of the company, but they had something that was on the lines of the old school cybervision stuff, like Al Geiberger and da-da-da. And so you put the goggles on, and you're supposed to watch these people, and I know enough to be dangerous. And so, even 2 years ago, I'm like, this is good. And so coming back this year, I was like really in the expectation of, okay, virtual reality. And so my, all my little nephews, that's what they got for Christmas this year. And I'm like, well, golf's, we're
Ocular.
we're technology based, and
it's coming.
Whatever.
I think we're about 5 years away.
Yeah. And so I'm always looking for like the cutting edge stuff of, especially being in Nebraska. Okay, well, what can we do indoors in the winter that'll help us in our training? Yeah. And
what's your facility like? What do you have, and what are you using as far as technology goes for your girls?
Indoors or outdoors?
Indoors, like whatever. Yeah, anything.
Right. We're small college. So we have SkyTrack.
Okay.
Basically,
it's a great avenue.
And it really is.
If you can't afford TrackMan, that's the next big step.
Yeah, I mean the girls, they absolutely love it.
Yeah,
which is great. But then, all right, I'm getting way off where I was going for. But today I saw the Flight Scope Mevo Plus. I'm an intuitive kind of person. I think I'm going to be all in about this. But I also talked to the TrackMan guys, and they could get me in at a price point as far as a small college and our budget that was half of what it was 3 years ago. But then exploring both of them, I'm like, this Flight Scope Mevo Plus, I can take that out on the golf course, and I can have the players hit shots and get feedback, and we can do a combine thingy. Yeah. And so I don't know. So I'm, it's interesting, and I absolutely love the technology and where it's come, and it's so much more applicable and transferable to actual performance, because that's what we're about, than it was 10 years ago. Because 10 years ago, in my opinion, it was too digital, it was too, confusing the brain. But I think technology has come so far, whereas coaches and teachers, like we can train our students and players in the proper way to actually transfer that to lower scores. Because ultimately, what's the object of the game? To get the ball in the hole get the ball in the hole in the least amount of strokes possible. So how do we do that? And if technology can help us in the right way, that's a good thing. If it hinders them, those companies aren't at the show this year.
It's fact.
So earlier we were talking about what was the best part of your week. So James, what's been the best part of your week at the PGA show?
I'd say actually, strangely, I wouldn't say strangely. I guess the best part of the week, surprisingly, was just meeting some of the people that you know only through social media. So people would come up and say, I don't know if you know me, and they would tell me their Twitter handle or something. I'd be like, oh, I know who you are. And, you know, that was nice to finally meet people, put a face to someone, a face to a name or a handle. I think the one that was really kind of surprising was the one where there was a teacher from Japan who I did a trip to Japan last February. I did a seminar there, and she was there. She attended the seminar, and so it was yesterday. So I was walking around, and all of a sudden, someone taps me on the shoulder, and it's a friend of mine who actually helped organize this thing in Japan. And he's like, "Hi," we're talking, and then all of a sudden, he goes, "I have a surprise for you." And right next to him was this teacher who was there, and I just was like choked up, because it was like, oh my God, she came all the way to see me, but she came all the way. And it was just nice to see that someone who's like 25,000 miles away or 30,000 miles away can come and see the PGA Merchandise Show and enjoy the same atmosphere that we all have come to see every year. And to her, it was like going to Disney. And she was like a little girl. Oh, it's like, it's amazing and all this.
Yeah.
And so it was nice to see someone with that kind of refreshing attitude. And
well,
so
we take it for granted, right? So we're here every year, and like I've barely walked like the show floor because I'm sort of conserving energy, and I've got other commitments. But for a first timer, this place is amazing, right? For a golfer or a new teacher or a new people, you know, somebody that's the first time. So, what about you, Brooke? What's been the favorite thing that you've enjoyed this week? Any?
I attended some classes about the fitness, but more importantly, recovery, that I think is really important as golfers, as athletes, as instructors. I mean, it's hard to teach as much as we teach, and you know, the physical toll and demand that it takes on our body.
Absolutely.
And you know, learning some new tips and tricks of how to recover better. That's just as important as the training and increasing volume load, whether you're a competitive golfer, whether you're just a social golfer.
Any tips on that? Like, give us a couple of bullet points on that.
You know, rest, how important rest is, and
Absolutely.
sleep, which we know we've all done a really awesome
this week
job
has not
of.
been much.
Yes.
But it's okay. I get you though.
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
I can't wait to see what February holds for all of us.
Yeah.
But you know how important rest is, hydration, but then also you know, a lot of things about foam rolling, you know, to try to work out knots, adhesions, scar tissues that we all get. Even if you're standing, you will get this of being able to do it where your body gets blood flow and it recovers and repairs faster, and actually getting the muscle to work at its proper length. It was really fascinating, and talking about how to properly increase volume training loads with strength training for golfers. You know, James and I had this conversation after the Rick Murphy talk. I think as instructors, we have this perception that our players need to have more mobility. Well, honestly, they need to have more strength. We wouldn't buy a Ferrari and zip it down the toll road with 0 brakes. Well, why do we need to increase mobility for all of our golfers if they don't have the strength to put the brakes on? So learning how to do proper load training and progressions of what each athlete can handle, or person.
Yeah.
So that was really, really cool to see and ask questions.
Have you met anybody new this year that you hadn't expected to meet?
Well, I mean, sitting across from all three of y'all. I mean, I knew who y'all were. You know, like what James said. I knew you from
y'all.
from like 3 years ago. But you know, you guys. You know, Richard Franklin with the games, which I've followed
Discover
him.
Golf.
Discover Golf.
He's been on the show.
You know,
friend of the show.
Friend of the show. You know that. You know, it's really cool. You know, just that, you know, going to dinner with you guys. I think that's something that has been really cool. It's not necessarily seeing new technology or seeing new training aids. It's
about the people.
It's the people,
Yep.
and honestly, the open forum and people that I got to meet.
If that doesn't come across in the podcast, instruction wise or other, it's about the people.
It is completely about the people and the connections, and also I think paying it forward. I know, gosh, you know, so many people have paid it forward to me, you know, every single year, and you know, making sure that I do that to the ones that are coming up behind me. I mean, it's honestly been. I mean, I'm staying with, you know, E.A. Tischler and his wife sleeping on the couch, which I fell off of the other night. It happens.
It's okay.
You
Whole
know
other
it's a
podcast.
pullout.
It's-
It's a pull-out couch.
I didn't pull. Never. I didn't. I just.
It turns into a bed.
I know. I didn't have the energy.
The communication
to
was
pull
not
the
there.
to pull out the bed. I just slept on the top. But it's all about the
Yeah,
people.
that's awesome. Yeah. What about Matt? You just got here. Which, that's a whole nother discussion.
Well, I mean, some of us.
How
have
was
to
your
make,
day?
Some of us have to make money on Mondays and Tuesday nights. But
Okay. All right. We'll have another conversation about that later.
No, for me, it's like the show. You know, it's funny. That James brings up the lady that showed up for the first time and was like having a field day, and not. You know, I've had the opportunity. The first time I came down here was almost 13 years ago now, right? And so that's almost like half my life at this point, right? And so for me, the show has turned into like, you know, what can I do to better myself and better my players, and what can I get that I think will improve my players, right? And anytime I see anything that's, you know, teaching aid or, you know, technology, it's like it has to go the pressure test of me using it first before, like, I'll buy it now, that's fine, but I'm gonna pressure test it under my own weight, and then if I like it or I understand it and I feel like a player can benefit from it, I think it helps me know what I can do to that to help a player going forward, right? So that's a lot of what I'm doing here. And then the education stuff, man, I mean, just you find like everybody is, what's funny is like everybody has a booth that has somebody, you know, like what you and James and everybody here is doing is like going and talking for 20 or 30 minutes, and like you can spend a whole day just going to somebody's booth and learning something from somebody. And like I've already kind of mentioned before, like the Brett McCabe one at TPI today was just unreal good. He like rocked it about talking about this generation and how to teach this generation's kids. Was so solid.
Yeah, he always brings the fire.
Oh, man,
right.
brother.
When he goes to sleep and he snores, he brings the fire.
Yeah, Iran's worried about Trump's bombs. McCabe dropped some, right? I mean, it was so good. And so for me today, it was a lot of that. And you know, one day is plenty for me just to get a feel for what's going on and see all the friends I need to see. And then the next 3 days are, you know, education for me at this point. But yeah, man, it's fun, man. It's never a dull time.
So CT, back by popular demand, 5 years after we first met. How's your experience been this week? Describe it.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, I hate to, you know, usually everyone brings me in to rock the boat a little bit, but I'm gonna have to go with the Kumbaya theme that's going on right now. But obviously cool to see all you guys again that I, you know, hadn't seen in a long time. But the thing that's stood out a little bit to me was when like Jeff and EA and even Brooke, like right when I got in the condo, all of a sudden I meet Jeff and Jeff's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "Nothing." And I was waiting for somebody to get dressed, maybe you or something. And all of a sudden he goes, "Hey, swing this." And I'm like, "Swing what?" It's like, "I made this in my garage." I'm like, okay. So next thing I know, I'm like swinging this little marble inside a shaft. And he's like, "What do you think about it? And what does it feel like? And how do you do this?" And then EA's got like, you know, looks like some kind of freaking yarn master swap meet, you know, building every damn rope and nunchucks and shit and tape and rope. And he's like, "Well, swing this. And then I'm going to cut this ball and then step on this ball." And I'm sitting there going like, all of a sudden what sort of occurred to me is that here's this group, and I don't want to misuse the term because I wasn't familiar with it, but it's golf biodynamics. Is that right?
Bow swing dynamics.
Bow swing dynamics, excuse me. They're trying to invade a person's space with these training aids and tools to get across a message, maybe from a more like self-exploratory way. Like that's the only way I can see it. Like as opposed to the traditional golf instruction where here's a concept, here's how you practice it, here's how we hope you apply it one day. Like they're actually trying to tap into something that's unique to that person. And that's sort of standing out for me going, I probably need to add that on some level to my arsenal of what I'm trying to do with people. And just like we were talking about tonight with, okay, I'm going to say it.
Do it.
Stack and tilt. Everybody just calm the fuck down for a second. Okay? Everybody calm down. Especially you listeners out there, don't you fucking turn this off. Keep it goddamn on right now. But like, I will go on record as saying, without calling it stack and tilt, because I understand, let's just say 80% of the principles that go with the system or the method, whatever you want to call it. I've helped people get better. I've helped people flight a golf ball down that have never flighted a golf ball down, right? I mean, I've helped somebody take a divot after the golf ball, and I've helped people understand geometry better, and I've helped people that were slicing it draw it with some of the principles that go with that system. Am I complete devotee? Do I understand all of it? No, absolutely not. Even to this very day, do I think I would maybe have some problems hitting a driver the way I like to see it inside that method? Maybe I would, unless I learned exactly what you're supposed to do with that club. But I think it's a great way to hit a freaking 9-iron from 130 yards for the average golfer, right? So whether it's the stuff that, you know, Jeff and EA are showing me with the ropes and the nunchucks and the step on this and put your ass here and swing this freaking thing, and it's like, shit, yeah, it does. I don't know, it doesn't feel like my swing, but maybe I could learn something from that. So I think golf's in a really, really good. The other thing is looking around that showroom floor, just the magnitude of people selling things, and looking at the Callaway freaking Epicenter and the Titleist booth and the Travis Matthews, like Pimp Daddy 10. Like, golf's in a really, really good place right now, you know, and I think it's going in a really, really good place. And I think just with the instructors and everybody else that's here, the fact that more and more and more, the more I come here and the more I'm hanging out with people, we seem to be trying to come together and move forward towards a common goal, which is just being of service to people, helping people achieve their goals better. And to me, that's just pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So open question is to the floor, if you will. When I was walking around the floor today, something I was starting to like pay attention to is a lot of these like they have like new exhibitor booths and, you know, kind of like up and coming product and whatever. How many of y'all feel like some of those booths needs like an actual salesperson in it? Because like some of those guys, I feel like are too in love with their product, or they see too many of the flaws of their product that they can't actually sell you to make you believe that it's a product that's going to help them. You know, or I mean, what's been y'all's take when you kind of walk around the floor and see some of this new stuff? Like, do you feel like that's something that people are lacking on the show, or is it just like a bunch of golf nuts in love with their own product?
Sometimes it seems to me that, like what you're saying, they're in love with their product and they're telling me about it rather than thinking about it the other way of what does the buyer want? What am I looking for as a golf instructor? What is Chris, right? Jason, all of us, right? When we're walking towards the booth, wonder what this guy or this woman would want from this product. Is like, I don't remember anyone ever asking me, what are you looking for?
Right.
What do you need? It's like, hey, you want to try this out, and like trying to convince me that this is going to be the most revolutionary or important thing in my instruction.
And I think it's amazing to me the number of people that like just let you walk by, you know, like, and you kind of have like that awkward eye contact for a second, and they don't even bother like to engage you or something like that. Like, so I don't know where I'm going is like, is a golf pro, right? You know, what's one of the fastest way you pick up students, right? You walk the range, right? You talk to people, you meet people, you say hello, how you hitting it, whatever, and you just kind of have that conversation. And like, you walk the show floor, and that's not the experience that I found, anyways.
Yeah, I think there's a positive and a negative, right? So it's like you go to a shopping mall now, those little kiosks, and you got some person like trying to sell you freaking, you know, lotion and shit, you know, and you're like, and then like walking, chasing you down the walkway, you know? So I think there's a fine line between inviting somebody into your space. But to your point, most people that are there have a massive love for golf, massive interest for golf. So here they are in an arena where you probably could sell them if you had the right
captivated,
right? Yeah. You know, it's not like when I'm going to the mall, I might be there to get some sneaks at Foot Lockers, and I don't want to fucking buy smelly lotion. So, like, I'm going to run from that dude, right, or whoever the hell's trying to sell me that shit. But, yeah, I mean, salesmanship's not for everybody. It's hard. And I think we all know that there's people that treat golf like a job, and there's people that have passion for what golf really is. And, you know, maybe there's a dude selling Maui Jim sunglasses that could give two shits about Maui Jim. Right, like he would rather be freaking, I don't know, a veterinarian or some shit, and he's pissed at himself. So, I don't know, you're probably dealing with a bunch of shit like that.
We can curse.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Brooke started it.
It's all my fault.
Brooke's been cursing all night.
Well, it's so funny. It's all my fault, as always. It's always the one from Texas.
She's from Texas.
I was trying to go through the PGA floor to get my badge printed yesterday, and there was a guy selling some type of eye cream who kept going off on me about how puffy my eyes are. I was like, no shit, I was up 24 hours yesterday.
He doesn't know you.
I know, and like
he doesn't know where you've been.
And talk about aggressive. And I mean, I tried like hell, like for somebody to talk to me at one of the, technology booths. And then I had this man with a lovely scarf on, and he ended up putting some shit on my eyes. And all I wanted to do was get my badge printed.
I love it.
And I'm like, how the
the same thing.
Oh my gosh. And then I need to work on my skin routine. So that's another important thing that I need to I learned from
So it's
this
not just
week.
getting rest.
Rest recovery.
I know.
And skin and some lotion.
And it's like I would run away from this man and he was always in front of me. And I'm like, how did you just beat me around, I don't know, 3 miles of this floor? But I mean, it is.
He's still there.
He's still there.
Wait,
I've had
was
several.
it
no,
Jeff?
Had several of those.
No, I'm talking about Jeff Smith that was just here.
Oh, was it? Oh,
because he lapped us coming out of the PGA
He's
show
giving a
tonight.
presentation. Next thing you know, he's like
he walks
pushing
like the
skin
ground's
cream.
on fire. I mean, gosh, we scaled an escalator today oh my gosh, it was amazing. But I mean, I think there's, it's interesting, especially in the golf profession. You've got some that are more outgoing and you've got some that aren't outgoing.
Jeff's a vampire.
Yeah.
Yes.
He does not sleep.
No.
Like I thought I slept less, but that cat's like up all night.
I know.
And I wake up and he's still up, like working. Like he's tireless. Like it's unbelievable.
He's probably already at the hotel getting ready for tomorrow. I mean, he's just kind of disappeared. So who
Where'd he go?
knows?
I don't know.
Yeah, he had unofficial duties.
Okay. All right.
No.
What other topics do you have, Sir Host?
Sir Host. I thought you were co-hosting this with me, man.
I'm trying.
You know what? I got to say this. I'm just so happy to see Chris. It's just like I've waited so many years to see him and to have him here.
I mean, ask him some questions. Like he hasn't even opened up yet. Like he's very, very closed-minded right now. He's closed off. Hasn't even talked.
You know what? I mean,
seriously.
I know we're on the same wavelength with this, but it's
like
that
they don't want to hear from me. Like let's hear from the star.
like you're working with a student. We both work with like juniors, and you're working with a student, and you're pouring your heart out, and you've got you're trying to do your best for that player, and they're just kind of like building this wall. Their mind's checked out. Maybe it is something like they had a bad day at school, or they broke up with their boyfriend or girlfriend or something like that. But it's kind of like just getting them to realize, hey, I need your eyes up front looking at me, and I'm trying to help you out here. It's what kind of conversation are you having with them at that point?
Well, yeah, I mean, a little bit depends on my longevity and the relationship I have. I usually have a pretty, I would say, open relationship with most of my students. Mm-hmm. So if I can say certain things to them, like pull your head out of your ass, or what the fuck is going on right now? I can honestly say that without, even batting an eyelash, and the parent or them do not cringe, because if they were the kind of people that cringed, they wouldn't be in my academy. So
you don't know me.
Yeah, they know me now. But yeah, I would just, one of the things I've gotten from Guru's podcast is this empathy thing.
Yeah.
Right? This ability to be in the moment, which I think is super critical for all of us as coaches. So yeah, I'm a little, and I had a baby with my wife, so now I'm like baby mode dad too. So it's like I'm also somewhat softer in that world too. So I'm a little bit more compassionate. So if I sense that they usually are a hard worker and something's not going on right, then we might just bounce from where I'm at, go down to 7-Eleven, grab something to drink, let them get whatever they got to get off their chest, because usually they can talk to me more than they can talk to their parents. And once they feel like we've squashed it or they've gotten off, even if we wasted 15, 20 minutes having to leave my studio, drive down the street to get a Slurpee or to get a freaking drink or whatever, we squash it. And then that last 20 minutes is good shit. and we get to work and we get something accomplished that they can be proud of for the day. I don't know if that answers it.
Oh, yeah.
I would have, prior to all of this, like maturing stuff that we do as coaches and being in the moment, I would have gotten pissed. Like, you're wasting your life away. The fuck's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, I would have been like, dude, it's just a golf lesson. Like, chill out. Like, it's not that big a deal. Even if we only get 20 minutes of work in, at least those 20 minutes will be something, tangible that you can take with you. And you feel better about your real life. And as we all know, that because golf and life kind of flow in and out of the same stream, it's like if the girl or guy feels good about what's going on, chances are they're going to play better and perform better. So
I think, your students, of any type, if you talk to them, you're going to get to know who they are pretty quickly, and they want to be heard. And if you just listen to them, you're going to figure out really quick if there's something up. And the things, I mean, it's like we're coaches, we're teachers, we're bartenders, we're hairdressers, we're I don't know, dermatologists, I don't know. But, if you, especially with kids, and it's known, I'm hard on my students. I expect a lot out of them, but I'm also there for them at any time. And that is the thing that, the kids respect. And if you talk to them, it's like, what's going on? There's something up. So you got to tell me. You got to tell me. And it's been amazing. I had 12 seniors graduate last year, and of those 12, 10 of them got golf scholarships. And
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's impressive.
It was unbelievable, how it all worked. And they came home from Thanksgiving, and the first place they came was to come see me. And that's when it wasn't the golf scholarships; it was that. And it was that's what this is about, is that relationship and building those relationships and the things that, I was like, wow, you really were listening. And it wasn't golf related at all. That's what makes this job amazing. That's what makes this week amazing.
Yeah. That's what also makes it tough as a golf coach too, is that you have so many of those kind of like relationships built up. And then to invest your time, you're investing time into them as much as they're investing time into you, right? Mm-hmm. And so you kind of live and die with them as they kind of like go through those growth and struggles and the ups and downs and things like that. And I think that's what, it's always entertaining to watch as the kids start to grow up and they develop, is like, you don't know what that journey is going to look like, and you don't know what could happen, and we've all seen the kid that we didn't really think had much of a chance all of a sudden just flourish with like 2 years left and take off. And then the kids we thought were going to be winners, and go a little distance, burn out and quit. And
absolutely.
I mean, this game is crazy when it comes to that arena. Hunger. You're falling asleep. Wake up.
No, I'm just listening to you guys. Nourishment for the brain.
I think with James, and I have one of the guys that works for me, runs what we call our futures division. And, we named it futures because they're, obviously going to be the future of golf. And so that's our 6 to 10 year old category. Now most of the stuff I see seems to be certainly younger than 16 years old. I tend to they have to work kind of through this system until they get to my doorstep, and they've got to get through 2 coaches to get to me unless they audition and are straight away, low 80s, high 70s kind of player. But I typically don't work with a lot of kids under the age of 12 unless the parents are personally requesting me to do it. I'm wondering for you, I consider what you do to be because a lot of times, like what she just said, like, it just blows your mind. And of course, like the appreciation for somebody getting a kid the ability to go to college for free, change their outlook, change their horizons, change their life. But there's a whole step before they get to me that somebody like you instills the love for the game. You know what I'm saying? Like the ability to actually love golf for everything it entails. Like if guys like you didn't grow the game like you do with the young kids, I just think guys like you need to get as much credit, if not more, because if you were a dick to them from day one, right, then they would never make it to anybody else's doorstep. Is that how? Do you feel that way? Like, do you feel you have a little bit of responsibility to like help them love the game and everything that goes with it?
Yeah, I think what I try to get them to do is just see that it's something that they don't have to feel like they have to be a rock star from day one. That it's hard to do, but the satisfaction of overcoming some of the obstacles that they're going to experience as they progress, as they learn, is going to make them not only feel better about themselves, but make them a better person. But also what I'm trying to show them is that other than their parents, there are people in this world that care about what kind of a person they are. And what I often see is kids are coming to me, and I may not be the first person who's ever given them a lesson. I might be the third or fourth person, and the parents are seeing who's the teacher that seems to connect best with their child. And so in those circumstances, I won't ask who they went to, but you can tell. And a lot of times you can see that they're kind of like, they don't want to be there. Mm-hmm. Because, oh, here we go. We're doing this again. Why is mom forcing me to do this? And so if I can relate to them in that first 10 seconds and let them know that they're important, that this is their time. And a lot of times I'll make a show of it. I'll do something silly or whatever. Or I'll drop down on my knees and like, are you Chris Trevino, the Chris Trevino? I've been waiting for you all day. And all of a sudden they're like, what's going on here? This is weird. Or who's this clown? And like, I got a piece of paper and a pen. I want your autograph right now because something tells me that in 15, 20 years, this is going to be worth $1,000. And they're all like, oh, this guy's a little, he's nuts, but. And like and just going on like that. And I'm sitting there on the mat and I'm telling them what to do. And sometimes if they're still kind of a little bit unsure, I'll pat the ground next to me and I'll be like, come, sit down. And we start talking and I'm like, you like chocolate? Because I'm a chocoholic. What do you like chocolate? And sometimes the kids are like, no, I don't like chocolate. I like strawberry. I'll joke around about like, what? All right, this lesson's over. You're out. And they get it. They're not like, whoa, I just got him mad or something. They're like, but that's what it takes. Mm-hmm. And they're seeing that there's something there, that this person cares. And then I'd start talking to them like, you see this ball and you see this club face? And I have club faces where I drew a face on the club. And I say like, all right, I'm going to ask you a question right now. And if you can answer this, I'm going to give you $100. And so far in 20 years of my career, no one's ever answered this question. This part is called the toe. This part is called the heel. This part is called the sole of the club. You got that? Yeah. Why is this called the face? Shouldn't this be called like the instep? Shouldn't this be called like, and you get the kids and they're like, maybe because, and they're starting to come up with suggestions. I'm like, no, that's not bad, but it's not $100 worth. And like, see, no one can answer that question. So you got to go home. You got to think about that. Next time I see you, you got to come up with an answer. We'll see if you win that $100. All right. So meanwhile, you got to get that face to hit that white ball, and boom, they're into it, just like that. And that works with 4-year-olds. That works with 12-year-olds, 8-year-olds. Right? It's not a gimmick. It's because I want them to care. And I want the parents to see, listen, you're paying me good money to take care of your child for 30 minutes or an hour. And I'm going to do the best of my ability to show you that I'm a responsible person. And a lot of parents see that I'm like a third parent. And they know he's got kids of his own. And so he understands what's going through our minds when we're thinking about the development of our own child.
If you had to build the perfect junior golf coach, what qualities would they have?
That's a good question. You mean personality-wise? I would say.
Like what's that person look like? I mean, in my opinion, it's like that's you, right? But it's tough to kind of look inward to yourself, right? But like, okay, better question. What would that person look like that would teach your kids?
That's a good question. I think like what I said, it's like just someone that I see as like another parent. That is someone that not only my child could talk to, but I could talk to. And that's really important, because if I can go up to them and say, hey, my son David, he's had a bad day or something like that, so he might seem like he's a little down, is that the teacher is going to look at me like, oh, okay, do you need me to say something to him? Is it something like we should try and find out he's hiding something, or is it just that he's tired or whatever? And then, or is it going to be the teacher is like, okay, whatever, and then sees it as like, oh, that means it's going to be a difficult lesson, right? It's like, no, it's part of the deal, right? Not everyone's coming through the door, strawberry fields and roses are smelling lovely and stuff, but you got to deal with that situation. So that's what I'm looking for in a teacher.
The hardest part has to be for the parent to kind of figure that out, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, first impressions are important, but it's like as they sort of get comfortable with that coach, how do you figure out whether that's the right person for your kid?
I think just continuing to observe them and see how they do, because
self-awareness, right?
Just awareness, because you never know. That first meeting, first couple of meetings could be a show just to get me to buy into their program. And then once
that's my point. Yeah, it's like
I
everybody puts on their best foot. The first lesson, it's like, what do you look like in the second, third, fourth lesson? Do you still have the same energy? Do you have the same care? What, or does it dip?
So I just want to say one thing. It's 1:30, and it's getting late. But the second thing I want to say is what I think about you is what makes you really special is the stuff that you're discussing right now. Although I think, I'm going to even go on a little bolder tip. I'm not sure that can be taught, if you want to know the truth. Now, because you're a humble guy and you're a nice guy, you probably think everybody, if you got them around kids, could find a way to maybe do something. No, they can't. It's just not like that, dude. Yeah. So the shitty part, the reason I love you and respect you, and I probably don't tell you enough, is if you got a 16-year-old kid, AJJ kid, you could help him advance just as well as I could. No doubt about it, with your knowledge and everything else you do. So that means you could do my job as good as I can do it in a different way, and I can never do yours. So that's what I think is the truth.
Boom.
That is love right there.
I don't know what better way to almost wrap up a podcast. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
for sure.
That's strong. I mean, it's, I think the big thing, and like you said, Jason, the overriding thing on this one is the ability to communicate in the relationships that are built from what we do and who we do it with. And, the big thing I think for me walking away from this episode is if you can't come down here and make a friend or learn something, then there's something wrong with you, not something wrong with the system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The opportunities are there, right? So it's just a matter of you reaching out, because there's coaches out there that want to help you, right? And on my podcast, I'm sort of targeting younger coaches, but other coaches, and I always stress the fact that you need to be aggressive and go spend time with people that you admire and you respect. And the PGA show is the perfect place to do that. And I've been in the business a long time and I'm still doing it. So there's no excuse for anybody out there that's not doing it, because most of us, I won't say everybody, is willing to help, right? So it's like everybody does something for somebody else and we all get better. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
James, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, you're saying these nice things about me, but I'm not, what I've become in terms of instruction is the culmination. That means it's the end, but I take pieces of everyone that's been an influence.
It is the last Star Wars episode.
Oh,
sorry.
Oh,
not the Star Wars episode. There's plenty of offshoots for coming.
There's plenty of me. But it's like, I have a piece of everyone. It's like, oh, it's James. It's, I have a piece of Jason Sutton. I have a piece of Brooke. I have a piece of Matt and everyone. I have a piece of Chris. I see Chris putting something up, Trevino Institute on Instagram or something. I'm like, God damn, that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
I want to do something like that. Yeah. Or what'll happen is it's almost like the motivation of that was so good, I want to do something like that or better. And it's not like I want to be better than them. It's like that is motivating me to be good instead of being stale. And it's the same for Jeff and everyone else that, everyone that's been in this room, Shelly, and how she works with her team and, everyone outside. It could be anyone from Mark Blackburn. I'm going to mention a lot of names. Mark Blackburn, Kirk O'Gurry, Mark Blackburn again. But, kissing ass. EA,
you almost have to do the voice. Like,
everyone that we've all come across. Right? They, even if I haven't mentioned their name, they know that they're a part of this. They're a part of all of us and what we've become.
Absolutely.
I've loved the fact that over the years watching, we were the guys that were with our hands in our jean pockets in the corner of the Hyatt looking around, going, oh, look at that. Look at who's over there. Oh, my God, that guy's now. I know that. And we're like, oh, I wonder if one day we're going to be, I've got a great picture of all of us standing around at the Peabody, and there's like John Graham. There's Chris Como. And there's Joe Mayo, and there's Rob McGill, and we're all standing around talking about stuff.
Yeah,
and
it hadn't changed.
Now
we're
like
just sort of the guy.
Ago.
You're right. Time moves, and now we're sort of
famous.
Well, not really, but yeah, it's like I say the more people know you, the more you age, right?
Yeah.
So it's like now people know us, but it's now our opportunity to share with the younger generation,
right?
And to pay it forward. And that's, like I said, my goal, so I talk about on every podcast, is to leave a legacy. I want to show up on as many testimonials and golf professionals that win awards or do great things as possible. And that would make my life complete.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I don't think you get asked this question because you get to ask this question to everybody else. So... And I'm sorry, I'm going to ignore the other people at the table at the moment, but the guru has to answer this question for me. If you could write a billboard, what would it say? Because I want to know what the guru says.
The famous billboard question, yeah. So I have several, but my favorite one would be a Zig Ziglar quote, and it's my favorite quote that I close with every presentation that I give. If you can help as many other people get what they want, you can have everything you want if you're interested. And that's being a servant leader to everybody that you meet.
Word. Love it. Real quick, we'll go around the table. That way everybody can put out their social media and ways they can connect. So, Brooke, send it off.
Mine is Watts Golf ATX on Instagram and Facebook.
James?
Facebook is James Hong. That's my personal one. And business one, golf one, is James Hong Golf. Twitter and Instagram is also James Hong Golf.
Guru?
Golf Guru TV on Instagram and Twitter. And I think it's just friend me up on Facebook at Jason Sutton. Golf Guru app on Apple. And then the Golf Guru Show on the podcast. And what else have I left out?
Outside of LinkedIn, I think you got it.
Yeah, I think it's it. Yeah. Bring me up.
Yeah, dang. Some of us just have two. Trevino Golf Institute on Instagram and the same on Facebook as well.
And then we have Jeff Smith, JMS PGA, who's on the show. He had to leave. And then Shelly Liddick, her Instagram was the Coach 21, and I believe it was Coach_Liddick and Twitter. So I pull that back up. But yeah, and then me, obviously, Matt Walter, PGA. You can find me on all social media on that one. So with that, Guru, you got something to wrap it up with for us? You good?
No, man, I think this is just so cool to kind of get together and collab. Your podcast is doing great, helping so many players out there and junior golfers and parents listen to this guy. And then hopefully you listen to my stuff a little bit as well, and we'll help grow this game and make everybody better.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
It's a wrap.
What's up, everyone? Guru back here again with a couple of things before you go. First off, thank you to the Condo group this year and for Matt Walter for kind of hooking it up and being my co-host, or really was the main host, as you could tell. Make sure you follow all these people on the gram and Twitter. Let's run down the list. Matt Walter is at Matt Walter PGA. Brooke Watts is Watts Golf ATX. And Shelly Liddick is Coach_Liddick. Jeff Smith at JMSPGA. Chris Trevino at Trevino Golf Institute. And then James Hong at James Hong Golf. And then obviously you can follow me on the gram and Twitter at Golf Guru TV. And I appreciate all the support. You can make sure you go to the App Store and download the Golf Guru app. And I'm giving it away now, man. It's like under $20 a month, under $100 for the year. It's just an incredible value. So go check it out. At least just check it out for a month and see what's up. And then it's the best way that you can work with me if you're not a Carmel member. So I appreciate that very, very much. Also, check out my website at golfgurutv.net, where you can find videos, articles, and more information on my teaching and coaching. If you have a question or a comment, hit me up on the DM, or you can email the show at golfgurushow@gmail.com. Music is by Kevin MacLeod and Zach Mullet. And as I leave you with, always, RIP Mr. Jim Rohn, study, practice, teach, and then pass it on. Thanks so much for listening. I'll talk to you next time.